Well, that is some Thursday morning energy if we've ever seen it. Thank you all. Thank you for being here. Good morning. My voice normally is not this low, so I apologize for that. We have survived. We've made it to the last day. Congratulations, everyone. Today we're here to talk about consumer connectivity, building iconic brands with two legendary marketing leaders up here. So we're going to start off with a few reflections because it's Thursday morning, and so we have to think back of the week. I have two questions for you. What has been the best celebrity sighting for the week, and one word to describe Can?
Best celebrity sighting would have been Paris Hilton. And actually, she has one of my favorite songs, which is Stars Are Blind. So that was amazing to see her. And one word for Can this week, hot.
My best celebrity sighting was the Whiskas Lucky Cat. Followed maybe by Seth Meyers. Quite easy on the eyes, I'm just saying, honestly. And the other question was one word. Yeah, really hot.
Yeah, so I think we could all agree there. All right,
hot.
We are going to jump into some marketing fundamentals. And Rankin, I'd like to start with you. Mars is a house of brands, iconic brands, some over 100 years old. M&M's, Nutro, we just learned today we have a Nutro fan in the house. Can you talk to me about your overall marketing philosophy and what great marketing looks like for Mars Snacking?
Yeah, so, listen, the environment we're in is that we're building or attempting to build iconic brands when attention is scarce and memories are fragile. And they're getting more and more fragile as technology and the world just gets more complex. So we have what we call the laws of growth, and that really guides what we do because we are here in service of growth, and brands are enablers of growth, and we're building iconic brands in that regard. And that's what we keep reminding our CFOs of every day. And by the way, they believe us because we can measure these things. I'll come back to that. But the laws of growth talk to number one. Our number one metric is penetration because we know that penetration wins. So we are focused relentlessly on how do we enable and unlock penetration across billions and billions of consumers for our iconic brands. The second thing I'll repeat is that memories are fragile. People forget your brands, and especially in a repertoire category like, for instance, snacking, where you are grown up with a repertoire of 8 to 10 brands, and you are constantly being served those brands physically, digitally, etc. So we need to keep reminding, it's a reach game. It's still a reach game. It's now what's changing is where we meet consumers, and not just where we meet consumers, but touching them where their agents are scraping. And that's the big challenge that I think we're on to now, is it's not just doing what we always did, because many things don't change. And I'll finish with this. Our philosophy starts and finishes with, in many ways, the fact that iconic brands are distinctive, and they're distinctive when we are, and they remain distinctive when we are consistent in our application and our service. We've been telling the same story on Skittles, and we've been tasting the rainbow for 32 years. Long may that continue, because it tastes pretty good. And Snickers has been reminding you that you're not you and you're hungry for 16 years. And Pedigree has been feeding the good for 20, 15, a long time. So that's a bit about our philosophy.
Beautiful, very good. And Natalia, I want to build on that with you. When we think about building brands, and when you think about brands versus audience-first strategies, talk to me a little bit about that.
I have heard a lot of people talk lately about how we're moving from brands first to audience first. But I would argue that good marketing has always been audience first, because you always have to start with that deep consumer insight. And you only achieve that when you know your consumer better than anyone else. And for me, that has always been the hallmark of good marketing. The difference is that before, maybe you could get away without that because everybody would watch your copy in the one TV channel that existed. But now you can't get away without actually being consumer-centric. And we are obsessed with that at Mars. And we're creating all of the technology to allow us to get real life signals from what's happening with our consumers, including connected ID. But also, we are doing deep ethnographic research to understand their motivations. And this has inspired great work for Mars, like, for example, Lucky Cat, which I'll share very soon, where the challenge was that in Southeast Asia is a market where Pet parents feed home-prepared meals to their cats. And that's not necessarily the best for cats because cats have different biological needs. And we were trying different messages to tell them, no, actually cat food is better. And they just couldn't grasp it. And we understood that actually we needed to come at it from a different angle, culture. And that's where the idea of Lucky Cat came from. A Lucky Cat is a Whiskas cat because it gets fed the nutrition it needs. And that's when we unlock growth. So maybe you show the video.
Meow, meow.
On average, cats in the US and UK live for over 11 years. However, in Thailand, only 3% of cats are older than 11. A key reason is 55% of their diets are human food, which is not designed for them. To change their fortunes, we have to change their diets. And to do that, we reimagined Asia's symbol of fortune and prosperity, the lucky cat. We colored it purple and gave it a new meaning. A Whiskas cat is a lucky cat because it gets the nutrition it needs. But how do you get people talking about cat nutrition? First, we created an army of thousands of Whiskas lucky cats, impossible to ignore and made to share. Then we unleashed them across Thailand, from bustling streets to local corner shops, the media placements that money can't buy. We gave them a soundtrack and Lucky Cat choreography designed to spread. We even created a special edition Lucky Cat pack and covered the city with our simple message.
A Whiskas cat is a lucky cat.
But we didn't stop there. We built the world's biggest Lucky Cat.
A Whiskas cat is a lucky
Over 3 stories of paw waving awe. And then we dropped it into Bangkok's most famous square, creating an epic cultural moment, bringing together influencers, celebrities and crowds. Even the governor of Bangkok turned up. Creators drove our TikTok shop sales through the roof. And our lucky cat trended throughout Southeast Asia.
A Whiskas cat is a lucky
We didn't just make Whiskas Lucky Cat famous. We changed the way millions of pet owners think about nutrition.
อร่อยเต็มซองได้ร้องแมวลักกี้คุณก็ลักกี้เตรียมรับโชคกันให้ดี
A Whiskas cat is a lucky cat. A Whiskas cat is a lucky cat.
Wishing all cats a prosperous long life, because a Whiskas cat is a lucky cat.
Is a lucky cat.
One thing I want to add, obviously, in that example, which is very close to my heart, is obviously is audience first. We created an amazing experience, but then we didn't leave any dead ends. We converted with live streaming on TikTok and actually saw sales significantly increase on the day and beyond. So
This thing is very viral. It is so cute and such a bop. I think when we think about audience first, it's interesting when audiences become communities and how communities begin to co-create content for you all. I mean, that's incredible. So Rankin, I actually want to bring that over to you quickly on what does that look like for you when you are responsible for such iconic brands, 100 years old plus, and trusting communities to co-create content with you?
Yeah, listen, it's a bit to Natalia's point, audience first. We start with the consumer. Everything we do starts with the consumer, and we are trying to meet them where they are. And more we observe that those places, 50% of those places are non-paid environments. So we started talking about much more about not just paid, but earned, shared, owned. So in order to meet consumers where they are in those places and spaces, we need to change our brand building philosophy, not our growth philosophy, but our brand building philosophy. And that takes us to personalization at scale. You'll hear everybody in Mars talking about more personalization, more connectivity, more two-way conversations in that regard. And secondly, we come back to building and co-creating with our communities. We are discovering fan insights all over the map, whether it's within categories, within the passion points that we play in, or brand communities and fan communities around brands. So it's an incredibly exciting time. And we discovered a fan community on M&Ms. And within that fan community, there's these groups of people who are collectors. And they strangely, or happily for us, collect icons of M&Ms. And people have houses that are full of this stuff. So, in a world where 50% is unpaid, we're giving up control, we're putting the brand out there and saying to the community, what do you think? Have a go. How can you get involved? So we energized a fan community on M&Ms to help Rick Steven, who lives in the Midwest of America, grow his collection and find the one thing he's been looking for his whole life. Let's roll the video on that story.
I tell my kids that they can put my ashes in here, and I don't know if they will or not, but I'm really kind of serious. Hi, I'm Rick Steven, and I collect M&M's memorabilia. Never have counted my M&M collection, but my guess is that there's around 3,000.
3,157, to be exact. But Rick was still missing one piece.
There's a collectible that I would really want. It's a salt and pepper shaker. It's the only salt and pepper shaker that I don't have, and I've been searching for it for about 3 years.
This is the story of how one of the world's largest brands helped one man find one thing with the help of one weird and wonderful internet. By turning M&M's TikTok
Hi, Internet. I'm Rick.
into Rick Talk. That's right. For 4 weeks, M&M's social served one purpose. Find Rick's apple tree.
Drop everything and help Rick.
We must protect this man. Well, this is adorable.
You found our M&M Pawpaw.
I love him.
Well, I love you too.
By bringing the internet together, we thought we'd find the apple tree in no time. Searching across TikTok, Facebook Marketplace, eBay, but instead we were taken into the wild, weird world of collector talk.
I have one. My grandma has it.
Everyone's grandma had it, until no one's grandma had it. These guys had it. No, they didn't. This guy tried to hold it ransom for $1 million.
Well, I'm not exactly sure what that means. There is some doubt that we will find a salt and pepper shaker that people will want to give me.
It got a bit weird.
I swear, I will never buy another M&M if I don't see him with that salt shaker soon.
It's been a couple of months now. It seems like the item is somewhat scarce.
We needed to wrap up the search, with or without the apple tree.
Brutal cliffhanger.
Hi, this is Vicky. I have the apple tree salt and pepper shakers.
Yeah, baby. That's what I'm talking about.
Finding Rick's apple tree, well, that became the highest performing organic campaign in M&M's history. How do you like them apples?
I guess that's the new TikTok, because Rick Talk.
So I think the main point, 3 years ago, we never would have done that. We would have looked at it and go, that's interesting, but we don't understand why that could get traction and that could actually impact our business. And so that's the shift. That's the practical shift for a brand like M&M's into new worlds. And really happily, I'm proud to say it's being recognized this week in Cannes. So good stuff.
Beautiful. Have you had the opportunity to meet Rick?
Oh, yeah. Very close. We're tight.
Yes, excellent.
I'm the Rick fan club. So.
Very good, very good. I mean, it's amazing how fast the communities pick up information and run with it and being consumer obsessed, and you have to move pretty quickly. So we're going to talk about moving at the speed of culture is our next topic here. And you talk about moving at the speed of culture, and what does that actually mean when you have to be so locked into what's happening right now and then obviously the brands?
Yeah, I mean, in these days, basically, you cannot buy relevance. You have to earn relevance. And culture is a way that allows you to earn that relevance. But when we talk about moving at the speed of culture, there are two ways of thinking about it. One way is reactive. Something happens, and you have put the systems in place to be able to react very fast and make your brand relevant to the moment. The other way is to plan for relevance, plan for a cultural moment that you know is going to happen. For example, recently we did an activation with Pedigree in Brazil, knowing that the World Cup was coming. We partnered with Ronaldinho, and this was a big cultural moment that we could plan for. Yep. You also can embrace cultural truths that are happening. Yep. One example is with the upcoming AI usage, people are using it for companionship, but actually that only leaves them feeling more alone. We discovered this insight and we decided that we needed to do something about it, and we did Best Friend AI.
Let's roll the video for Best Friend AI.
Nowadays, we use AI for everything, for work, for entertainment, for answers. But lately, people have started using it for something else.
AI companions.
AI companion.
AI companions are designed to mimic friendships. 72% of American teenagers have formed a relationship with an AI companion.
A trend experts warn could deepen loneliness, replacing real bonds with artificial ones. So in a world turning to AI for companionship, they created one that could give people a real best friend. Introducing Best Friend AI. We orchestrated the launch of our new AI through out-of-home media and personalized press kits to some of Brazil's most relevant influencers. And it really got people talking, including Felca, one of Brazil's most influential creators, known for calling out problematic trends online, who, by the way, even got an internet safety law named after him.
Às vezes que surgiu do nada, que é como surge todas as empresas de IA, lançou uma campanha dizendo que vai ser a IA para ser a sua amiga.
The conversation spread nationwide, exactly what we wanted. Because best friend AI was never meant to replace friendship. It was meant to reveal it. Instead of simulating a friend, it helped people find one. Through a nationwide network of shelters, it matched people with adoptable dogs nearby and guided them every step of the way. And who better to tell people about it than Felca himself? Yes, we got him back to the conversation.
O slogan, essa IA que te promete um amigo de verdade, ela falou verdade mesmo.
Now as a pedigree partner, as well as other creators that criticized artificial intelligence fronts, turning outrage into a movement for good. After all, if technology can connect us, it should lead us to something real.
I think what worked really well here was actually to juxtapose the tension between the most advanced technology that we have right now and the truest connection we can have, which is the connection with the pet. And this sparked the conversation because in culture, this is what everybody is discussing. So that's how you become relevant.
Oh, I love that. And this is, I mean, one of the things that we spoke about yesterday, I love the World Cup example, and I love thinking about planning for it ahead of time and then responding in the moment. And that authentic connection with your consumers and just being consumer obsessed. And obviously caring more about the whole person, right? Not just what they're buying, but caring about actually a fulfilling life, which that's loyalty right there. When we talked about this yesterday, but also how quickly this moves. So Rankin, we have an example here I'd love for you to talk to us about of in the moment, how you respond. How did you get the data to inform some of the things that you're doing as a business? And then we'll show a pretty cool example up here.
Yeah, so we signed up with publicists about a year ago now, quite famously, and made that move, and that opened up the world of connected identity and an elite data set that we'd not had access to. And that's really engaged our ability, much as Natalia's described, around audience intelligence and being able to be much more precise, much more understanding of our consumers and where they are. And that led us to insights around M&M's consumers, both potential consumers as well as not current consumers that we wanted to buy more around watch parties. So there's a behavior out there. You know, the data tells us that they're spending their time watching things like movie premieres, etc. So I don't know if we've got the graphic. One of the things we planned for and we knew about because there was a definite color linkage was the theme was cerulean blue. So when the Devil Wears Prada 2 broke, we knew two things based on the data we had. One is there was going to be a proliferation of rewatch parties to rewatch the first film, and then there was obviously the premiere parties. So we thought, blue, we have that color in our repertoire. What could we do with that? And we got out there and we got to market in record time, a limited time offer in literally a matter of weeks that we could actually take to scale and drive a major earn story around that. And it had tremendously positive impact on our results. So just really simple, not rocket science, but get on it, focus, think about the connection between a cultural moment and what your brand can add to that. Not sort of co-opt it, not try to take from it, but what can your brand add to it that your fans and your consumers and your non-consumers can relate to and get engaged with.
Love that. And when we were speaking about this, it was so fascinating to think about what was leading to the insight that connected to whether it was the Rick Talk or the pedigree or now, and with this, it's one of the things that we ask ourselves as marketers is, well, that was an amazing idea. It was an amazing campaign. It pulled on your heartstrings. Did it work? And so when we ask our CFOs, you know, was great marketers, we're like, that was an amazing campaign. CFOs have a little different question, which does it work? What does that mean for you? And what do you think your CFOs are looking at on effectiveness of the marketing materials that you all put up?
We have been doing a lot of work on establishing a robust measurement framework that is aligned across the enterprise. And that includes short-term metrics like ROI, but it also includes more long-term metrics like brand power. And the biggest job that we need to do as marketeers and brand builders is to educate our CFOs of why brand power matters even more than ROI. And so we invest a lot of time having those conversations and educating them in a way that they get engaged, they understand, and then they understand as well why we need to invest as much in top of the funnel as we need to invest bottom of the funnel for conversion.
Yeah, I just think it gets down to what do you have control over? We are in an increasingly uncontrolled environment. So to be credible, and I think we all have a responsibility, by the way, as CMOs, to step forward. Don't wait to be asked. Step forward and offer a way to measure their investment. You know, the famous quote from Wanamaker at Coke is 50% of my investment works, 50% I don't know which half is working. Well, we've taken that to heart. What I can tell you is 80% of what we measure, we can measure 80% of what we're putting out there. 20% still remains unchecked. So back to, if you're going to go into the world and the Wild West of putting things into an earned, shared, owned environment, you've got to get to work on how to measure that. So we're working with our partners at Publicis. We're working with all, our tech platforms to enable measurement. And we're also starting to do all kinds of work in development partnerships with one like, for instance, Alembic, which is really seeking to understand all the signals that lead to in earned environments, and any signal really that leads, oh, they're right over there. They have a little booth over there. Sweet. Hi, guys. That leads to a conversion. And that's the big difference, is we're getting much more credible about understanding all the signals, and LLMs now give you the power to crush that information into understanding there's cohorts of people that, for instance, start with, I saw a Snickers podcast. I went to a Snickers WWE event. I saw an ad for Snickers, and then, by the way, I bought some Snickers in Texas. We can now actually make that causal chain and understand it at scale. That's the dream. A long way to go before we get there, but we are investing in those kind of partnerships as well as strengthening our core scale measurements. And I think the pet care teams particularly have done an amazing job of getting to our MMM tools and enriching those and making them more agile and more effective. So we spend a lot of time on measurement. My boss is right there. She reminds me every day. But the reason why is because it gives us credibility in the boardroom, and I think that's incredibly important.
I would add one thing to that, which is one metric, not of results, but actually of making sure that you're doing the right thing that matters a lot for us is reach. Because we want to reach the broadest possible audiences in a relevant way. And before we were thinking of reach in paid terms, the media that we can buy. And now when we're thinking about the definition of reach, we think about peso reach. So what you can pay, earn, own, and share. And how do we get reach across all of the elements of peso? And so we are testing and learning our way through figuring out how to get rich in that way.
That was my next question, and build on this. When we think about your ability, and if your boss approves it, if you're allowed to do, how much testing you're allowed to do, when we're thinking about how quickly measurement and really creative and outcomes are now coexisting, how much liberty do you have to actually get out there and test and push the envelope as Mars?
So I didn't hear how much
liberty do you have to test?
You have as much liberty as you're willing to take. So again, I get into some conversations with CMOs, and Natalia and I were at a thing yesterday where, I'm going to say it, there's almost a victim culture around nobody well, maybe they don't. Your job is to convince them. So take responsibility, one of our 5 principles at Mars, take responsibility to go get the data, to get the partnerships you need, because no one in the organization is going to push you back to say, I'm trying to get a better hold of our investments and our performance. So I think we are doing that together.
Rankin and I thoroughly agree on this point. And actually, no matter how small your budget is, you can always set 5% aside to test. Yeah. Even if you're a brand manager in a market, you can always set 5% aside to test. And if that works, you invest 10%. And if that works, you invest 20%. So I think we need to be the owners of our own destiny as brand builders, as CMOs and marketeers, and just get out there and try new stuff and have the courage to do so.
And I think the thing I'd add is, this is an industry challenge. This is a community challenge. And I think the more we are informed together, because we all have the same tools, we will, right? It's about, the question becomes, what are you prepared to invest? So the competitive advantage will become, How fast are you going to go? What are you prepared to invest? And also, I think there's a huge opportunity to collaborate as an industry. And I think we need to see more of that because we have to solve this as marketers and as CMOs. And I think that, for me, is one of our, when you're talking about the WFA forum, I mean, that was a core conversation of how we can work together on this.
Absolutely. Okay, well, our final questions, which we kind of gave you a little bit of a stumper here. Rankin, I'm going to start with you. In 5 years, what will marketers stop doing?
Whining that they don't. What will they stop doing? I think they'll stop investing in things they maybe don't understand. I think we're going to have so much capability to measure that we'll be more confident in driving decisions. So that's kind of a negative to negative, but I think we're going to have more control and maybe more control of the growth conversation because we'll have the evidence.
Yeah. And yesterday we spoke a lot about impressions and how impressions really, where are those going to go? What do you think about that?
Yeah, I said something earlier in the week that, that famously M&M's fired the spokes candies in 2022 at the Super Bowl. It was interesting. It was quite fun. And it went off like wildfire. And they told me that we got 25 billion impressions, 3 times the world's population. I'm like, really? What does that mean? It means nothing because it's fake. So I think we're pushing through that because what that was measuring, just to be practical, you're measuring subscription bases of whole channels, not how many eyeballs saw your ad, not how many people processed the message, right? So we are reinventing, thanks to our brand PR team and our friends at Weber, we are reinventing how we're measuring that aspect as one example. And so we really need to unlock those things and stop trying to quote rubbish, get real, because I think every time we say blah, blah, blah billion, our CFOs go, I don't know what you're talking about. And by the way, nor did we, as we've discovered. So that's one shift.
Oh, excellent. Okay, and the flip side of this coin, Natalia, in 5 years, what will marketers never stop doing?
Marketers should never start focusing on the fundamentals of brand building, defining your brand as clearly and distinctively as possible, remaining consistent in that definition, finding the audiences and understanding them, and then finding ways to reach them in the most possible relevant ways.
Beautiful. Beautiful. All right, Lucky Cat.
A distinctive brand is a winning brand. Sorry.
Thank you all. I think the word of the day, hot, and really hot, is continuing. Thank you all.
Thank you.